that, speaking of baseball games, one of the biggest things that we had in my most fond memories is that we collected baseball cards together. You got me into collecting baseball cards.
Yes, yes.
We would go, we'd started off small. We'd go to swap meets, flea markets. This was before anyone knew the value of cards. And we would go through there and you would teach me which ones were the valuable ones and the importance of a rookie card. And I'm not going to get too meta on this because I'm going to lose like 99.9% of the people listening to this. But the shared experience, because what happened was we used to go every once in a while, we'd fly, I believe it's always to California with San Diego.
We go to San Diego for a baseball card convention, and that was so much fun. You'd go looking around for your favorite players, and I'd go looking around for what I thought were cool players, and later on bobblehead dolls.
It wasn't even about where we went. It was just the experience of going together. I remember one time we were on that plane, a really small plane, and there was a very large man on it. And they asked if he could move to the other side because he was throwing the weight off. And I remember, and so that was like the shared experience. It was like, okay, this is kind of funny / really scary. I remember very little about the actual baseball aspect of it. I remember where we stayed, and it was one of those, like a kind of a trashy motel.
It's a budget conscious hotel.
Right. But my point is that it wasn't about that. It was, I just remember got me lots of candy, gum, played video games, had that pool. And I can even remember we had like fried chicken, it was just like the little things like that. So what suggestions do you have in general, just for fathers, divorced or not, advice, things they can do with their kids?
Yeah. Well, I guess not so much doing as relating that I try to think of how what I say is going to impact the child, and a young adult or ARP member, as the case may be. I may be right. Would this hurt his feelings or hurt her feelings? Would she feel bad? I'm not big on building self-esteem by phony awards and things like that. That doesn't do anything for me. But I don't want to take away self-esteem if it's avoidable. And sometimes you might be inclined to say, well, I told you to do this, or I thought about doing that, and you didn't do it, or somebody behaved in a way that I found annoying. And there's often reasons why people are that way. Sometimes I slip up and have it like anybody else. We're in a unique position as parents to impact our kids a lot, and little things can mean a lot, and things that involve what's important to their psyche. You want to avoid making them feel bad that way. This is asking a lot of people to be able to read into into other people's thoughts and seeing how it's going to relate. But you do want to have empathy for other people's feelings, not just being aware of if you're upset or mad, but what would you say that would make people feel uncomfortable? And that's the kind of thing that I like to do. I like to avoid creating even more problems than one's facing at the same time. And if it takes creative lying, I'm for that. I got nothing. I think I've told just before. I have no objections to lying if it's going to save somebody's feelings. I really have no problem with it. Obviously, there are lies, big lies, but you don't have to be a compulsive truth teller. You can basically let something slide or say, yeah, that's fine.
That's a really good point, because I know one of the challenges that I've had is that filling. I must give all the information and be brutally honest. Otherwise, it's like lying or not helping them. It's like the old saying goes that honey brings more bees than vinegar. I think that's how the saying goes.
This is tough because we're not trained to be psychologists or child psychologists or young adult psychologists. We're not trained that way. Most of us aren't.
Well, steering this back to things that I got from you that I like to share with my kids. One of the biggest things was that you showed up, you had a full-time job and you worked the 9 to 5, and then you came home, threw the ball around a little bit. Then you went into your home office, as a professor, and you were writing books as well as teaching and all that. In today's day and age, we're not talking about pandemic, we're talking about like pre-pandemic, So many people have these very flexible positions, but the fact that you were at almost every one of my races, you would find your way, in the middle of the day. I mean, this was early afternoon to come out to watch my meets and stuff like that. And I remember sometimes you even brought somebody with you, another professor, a friend, or something like that. And that was huge support. That's one thing I brought in with my kids, is making every single sporting event. And then also, my kids do a lot of theater. And when my oldest son was doing track, they had a big race out in Arizona. We live in LA. And I took him out, just the two of us. And it kind of reminded me of when you and I, went to San Diego for the baseball card convention. But there's things that you showed up for that were probably, completely boring for you, or just, to make that appearance. I've noticed with, especially my middle son's friends, I show up at everything, and I'm one of the only fathers that does that. I don't know this because I haven't asked my kids, but I would imagine, because the way I felt when you showed up to, to my things, that it was a big deal. I'm not sure you remember this, but I got in trouble or escaped from every camp I was ever put in.
Yes, I remember that.
And I remember feeling horrible because for some reason, I guess the dad always had to come down. Mom wasn't. I don't know why they didn't have mom come. She was, at home, running the household, but they would always call you away from work to come in and deal with me. And I never once did you get angry. I think you remember this, General, what was going through your head when you had to come pick me up?
No, I had to.
Or talk to me at least?
Yeah, sure. I tried to reason with you, or I was thinking that I really felt bad because you were unenjoying something so much, and I hated to see that. I don't know if I want you to suffer through it. It's not that important. There are other places to learn object lessons about sticking with it. Just getting back to your broader question, though, I think the most important thing that dads can do, especially right now when the idea of single moms and absentee dad is okay, it's another lifestyle, to me is crap. What you really need more than anything is dads to show up. What's the most important thing to do. Being there is what dads have to do. Being an absentee dad is unacceptable.
Where did you learn that it was important to show up to my things? I mean, happen in a vacuum, because there's plenty of dads that don't do that. And growing up in Tucson, I don't know how many of my friends' dads were at the races.
And I'm aware of things where people have had problems with dads not showing up. And I don't really think I need just somebody to mentor me. It's kind of, some things you just pick up and gather. And in fact, I'm not religious, but religion teaches you these sorts of things. I think it's part of a moral life, I believe, to take care of your kids. And these things are not rocket science. They're pretty obvious that what you should do.
It's obvious to you. And that's the thing. And that's what I'm trying to share here. If you didn't have that, people that are listening to this, fathers, if their father didn't demonstrate that, and they're wondering, I'm trying to connect with my kids, I don't know how to do that. I guess instead of saying that that's just how it should be, you had to come from somewhere to be able to have that belief system. So it sounds like what you're able to share when you become a parent, you commit to that, and you're divorced or not, you're still a parent. So before you start looking for a new spouse, you take care of what you already have, what's already in front of you in terms of the kids. Obviously, you and mom didn't get divorced. Maybe that's the reason why, if anything, maybe I'm too much in my kids' lives where they're most annoying. There's either a camera in their face, I'm making a video about them. Anyone who watches my channel sees them in the videos, all the time. And that I want to know what's going on in their lives and with their friends. And they're thinking, wow, this is kind of weird, Dad, that you're so in our lives. But I just think that the newer generation, millennials that are getting divorced, may not have as much grounding as my generation. I'd say we're the last, any Gen Xers that had silent generation parents. It's a simpler time, it's very cut and dry.
That's right. Well, it is. I would say that a good half of, maybe 75% of the people in prison now are a result of bad parenting, or even more directly, of absentee fathers. So getting back there, the kind of the mantra is the important thing is just showing up.
And wrapping things up here, I'd like to add something as a father that I asked my kids. I sent a text to all three of them. What I'd like you to do is say a couple things, specific things that you learned from me, that you have, gratitude for, specifically me being your father. Also, not to make it feel like you force them to do something. I want to show them it's a two-way street. that their value as well. And so I said, also, if you could think of anything that you would like me to work on or do differently for this year, so I can prove my relationship with each one of you. So if you have some things that you've done, some really great connecting things where you've formed memorable moments with your children, definitely would like to hear about it. Please comment down below. This is a free space. This is a safe space. Dad, before we wrap things up for this special Father's Day edition, is there anything that you'd like to say?
It's wonderful that you provide this outlet for folks, divorced dads, to discuss these things in depth. There's a kind of a brotherhood of folks guys who've gone through this situation, and I feel blessed that I wasn't one of them. I wish everybody good luck in working things through. Hopefully that what I've said is you are be doing the right ones and ignoring the wrong things. So that's about all I can say. And Andy, you're doing a great job.
Well, Dad, I'd like to thank you for coming on today and spending all this time with me. I'm going to say happy Father's Day to you early, because when this comes out, it should be on Father's Day. So it would be right on time. I love you. And thanks for being my dad.
Right back at you.
Okay. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.